Okay, so here's the deal. Your buyer does not need more data. They don't need a better pitch. What they're really looking for, whether they know it or not, is your certainty. Because people don't buy the product, they buy the belief. So that is what we're going to cover in today's episode. This is episode number 4 in the energy driven sales mini series. So far we've covered in episode 1, we covered how energy is the unspoken skill that elite closers master. Episode 2, we covered the container, how to set the space and create the space that we create shapes the outcome. And episode number 3, we talked about emotional leadership, how to guide the room, how to guide people through the process with calm awareness. So today's episode is about how to transfer belief through your energy, not just your words, and how to make the buyer feel safe, confident, and ready to move forward without high pressure, without tricks. There's no magic bullets here, but there is a process and a way to do it where we don't come across as the pushy salesman. I know so many of you and so many of us have that's the one thing that we want to stay away from, is not be that, that pushy salesperson. But how do we influence people to make a buying decision in their best interest without being pushy, without having pressure? So that is what today's episode is about. So I'm so excited to get into it with all of you. So let's get into this a little bit. Let's start with the what's in your cup section. One of the things that I love so much is health, and I hope you do too, because nutrition and fitness are two of the key pillars in being someone worth buying from. Having the self-discipline to say no to things, and the self-discipline to consistently do what you say you're going to do. So exercise, nutrition, all of that. So what's in my cup today is water. I'm back on hydration mode. So I did have some espresso earlier, but I'm on a mission. I hope you are too. I challenge you, set a the next mile marker for yourself, for your health, to hit a place that you've never been in your life. I challenge you to decide today to lose that weight that you've always wanted to lose, because these things are easy to do and they're easy not to do. Choose to be somebody that has the self-discipline to do the things to accomplish what you want to do. And if you want help with this, reach out to me. Happy to help with your fitness and nutrition. But part of the nutrition is getting enough water in every single day. So I've got my Close It Now bottle for everybody that is on YouTube. Make sure to like and subscribe and share this with others that could use these episodes. So what's in your cup today? Are you drinking coffee? Are you drinking kombucha? Are you drinking tea? What are you drinking? Let me know in the comments. Let me know. Go to the Close It Now Facebook group, and or drop me a review. Just let me know what you're drinking and what's in your cup in the review. You can go to Apple Podcasts and search Close It Now on Google, and love a 5-star review. And if I read your review online and you hear it, message me, because you get a free gift. So everybody, let's take a collective sip and toast this episode before we get into it. 3, 2, 1. All right. Got to stay hydrated here. So, what is certainty in sales? Let's talk about what it is before we get into, and why it's important before we get into how to communicate it, right? And one of the first things that I want to cover is what happens if we don't use certainty in sales, right? Why is this important? What's missing? When it's missing, what happens? One of the things that happens is, have you ever been in, raise your hand, and if you're in Drive Time University, welcome. But keep your hands on the wheel, but raise your hand if you have ever been in an appointment and all of a sudden it feels like things were going good, they were smooth, it was warm, and then all of a sudden that buyer goes cold on you. You know what I'm talking about. You felt the difference. All of a sudden it feels like there's a chill in the room. That happens when we don't have certainty. More objections pop up. Objections start to pop up through the process, way before we, typically get the objections, the standard ones we expect. All of a sudden we start to get more objections when we don't have certainty, when we haven't set the container properly. All of these things we're talking about, objections start to pop up. Number three is the appointments feel heavier than they should. So all the things we're talking about, this is a feeling, but you know, if you've been in enough appointments, you know when you feel this. Things start to feel heavier than they should in the process. One of the others is when you leave, you're like, we have this moment of, man, everything went great. It was a smooth process. It seemed like they were all in, all the buying signs were there, and we get to the end, and they're not closing, and we're like, all of the signs indicated it should have, and we leave wondering what went wrong. So I'm here to tell you, you know, when we set numbers and your company sets numbers and metrics for you, then there is there's it's not a sin. I heard this expression a while back. It's not a sin to miss your numbers. It's a sin to not know why. And so this is a huge part. So I commend you for being on this episode and listening to this. And if you stuck with me through this series, this is episode 4 of a 9-part series because it is this important. This is the longest series I've ever done, and because of the importance of it. So if you leave wondering what went wrong, you don't know where it went sideways or where you lost them, this could be the very thing that you're missing that you didn't even know you were missing. So if the buyer senses your doubt, even a little, they'll default to theirs. So remember in these episodes, we've been talking about the mirror neurons. We lead them. If they sense your doubt, if they sense your uncertainty, they will default to their level of uncertainty. So certainty isn't just confidence, it is emotional leadership in action. And so that is what we are covering today. So that's what happens if you don't have the certainty, if you aren't able to communicate that through your energy and through leading them in the appointment. So let's get into what is certainty. Now that we've covered what happens if we don't have it, let's talk about what it is. So certainty is that invisible yes energy. If you've ever ridden with a top performer or a trainer or anyone doing ride-alongs that is good at what they do, and we go through the process and you have this thought that, oh, you know what? They're doing the exact same thing I do. But you get to the end and the homeowner just says yes, no problem, no questions, no objections, no asking for a discount. If there is, it's handled pretty easily. And you're like, what in the world is the difference? This could be very much the very thing. The certainty is the difference. It's the invisible yes energy. So another thing that certainty is, it's what makes someone say, I don't know why, but I just trust this. Or if you've ever had anybody at the table say, and I've had this a lot of times, not at first. It took me a long while to get here and to understand this. But if you've ever been sitting at the kitchen table or wherever you're doing business, and then the homeowner says something like, you know what, I normally don't do this on the first visit. Normally we have to sleep on it. Normally I have to get bids. Normally I have to fill in the blank. But they say, you know what, I just feel like I can trust you. This is exactly it. You have the certainty that their problems will be solved, and it transferred over to them. So, it's not hype. It's not ego. It's definitely not aggression. It's calm, grounded belief. So certainty of all the things. Most reps, they try to sell information. Pros transfer conviction. So you cannot ask the buyer to believe in something that you're still unsure about. So I want to camp out on this for a sec. Because, if you are working at a place where you don't fully have confidence in the company, in the install crews, in the support from the company that they're going to give your clients, in the service technicians that, they may or may not fix their problems if problems arise, and you don't have that confidence and certainty, I would implore you to take action, right? Absolutely take ownership. See if there is something you can do to fix the problem. See how you can help your company become better to create the certainty. Because I'll tell you, the grass is always greener where you water it. It's not always greener on the other side. However, this is a yes and. If that is not possible and you're in a company or a position where you don't have the ability to influence that, and help the process to make it better. And you maybe you're in a place where you're just not getting support from the company. I would tell you, I implore you, find a place where you do get support that you have the confidence and certainty in, because every bit of that baggage that carries behind you, the buyer can feel it. Even if you say, oh, I'm a great actor, I have the best confidence in the world, they can feel it even if it's not something you say. So it's so important to have the confidence, and also in the product you sell. Maybe the company is good, maybe the support's good, maybe the install crew is great, but say you think that IAQ is smoke and mirrors, or maybe you don't truly believe in your product. Maybe you think that maybe for HVAC, the higher levels of systems, adaptive or whatever, you don't believe they actually do what they say. Or if you're in any other industry, do you own the thing that you're trying to sell? Is it installed in your own home? Because I'll tell you, and so quick story, when back in the day when the highest level, so I was a Bryant dealer years ago, and when the highest level of the Bryant Extreme came out at the time, it was the first year that they rolled out the variable speed equipment in the field. For that was not long before the end of the year. I was so blessed by the owner of my company at the time. He used I had just bought a house that year, and he used his personal use program to gift me a brand spanking new Bryant Extreme for Christmas. And it was, I mean, it was a moment of tears. It was awesome. Loved it. It was such a good system. But more importantly, once I had experienced it, I sold more that next year, more of that model, more of the Bryant Extreme, the top level system at full book. I didn't discount than the entire city of Austin combined. I did in a town of 13,000 people. Now, this isn't to impress you, but impress upon you that if you live it, if you breathe it, it translates through every bit of that. So I did it by telling my story. I shared my story of what it felt like in my own home with authenticity, and it was absolutely transferable. So you have to believe in what you're promoting. If it's a product, if it's an accessory, if it's a service, whatever it is, if it's the company, you got to believe in it. So work to fix it, but if you can't fix it, find something else. And if it's a product, install it in your own home. Absolutely. You've got to own it to know how they function. You can go to all of the engineering classes, but until you experience it, you can't communicate through the benefit lens in a way where people will resonate with it. So, because remember, facts tell, stories sell. So that's what certainty is. And so let's get into section 2 here, because I've broken this down in a few steps. One of the things we've talked about this some in this series, but remember, buyers mirror your nervous system. They mirror exactly what's going on inside you. Remember, we talked about the mirror neurons. So this is where they kick in the hardest. If you're unsure, if you're scattered, if you're trying too hard, the buyer feels it. It's not something that's in the conversation. And every now and then you might have somebody actually pick up on it and call you out on it, but they feel it. If you're grounded, if you're clear, if you're calmly confident, they relax and they follow. They will follow your lead. So here's a fun analogy for all of you musicians out there, or if you are not a musician but you know what a tuning fork is. If you don't, I recommend looking it up, especially for all you younger folks. Look up what a tuning fork is and how it works. So your nervous system is like a tuning fork. The buyer will either resonate with it or they will retreat from it. In order for them to resonate with it, then it has to be positive. If it's negative, they instinctively retreat from it. Their fight or flight mechanism kicks in and they don't even know why, but they're going to run away. And so here's a couple of examples, because I want to make this as clear as possible. This is one of the more intangible things, but the second we understand it, it's an awareness moment that you can't turn back on. Once you know about it, you're going to recognize it from now on. So here's an example. Say, a buyer hesitating on call it a $12,000 quote. Maybe they're hesitating on a $20,000 quote. Maybe they're hesitating on a 25 or $30,000 quote. Are you the type of person that you have no problem selling, maybe anything up to, call it $15,000 in a ticket, but anything above that, you get nervous. And when you get nervous, they get nervous. And so that's absolutely something that this is. So say, okay, so let's get back to the example. Say they're hesitating on, we'll call it a $15,000 quote. One, you calmly reframe with belief, not defense. And here's an example expression. Here's what I know. If this was my home, I wouldn't wait. It's not about pressure, it's about peace of mind. And so we're not there to pressure. We're there to give peace of mind. And just say, listen, if it was my home, I wouldn't wait, I wouldn't hesitate, and this is why, and these are all the reasons. And back that up with, that's why I have it in my house, because this is what I love. So it's so important to be able to communicate that. Is everyone going to buy the same thing you have? No, of course not. But if you miss all the shots you don't take, for one, so you've got to be able to transfer that certainty. But in fact, this is important, how to transfer the certainty without adding words to it, without saying a lot more. So a key concept here is, so here's how to transfer certainty without adding extra words, without over explaining, without talking yourself out of it, because that happens too. So the key concept here is certainty is felt before it's heard. So here's a few tools to implement in this process. One is tone. Slow down. Speak less. Let your words carry weight. One of the exercises, and you've heard me, if you've listened to all of the podcasts, I've mentioned this a few times, but I'm going to harp on it for a minute. This is really important. Always constantly play a game with yourself. Can I say this in less words? But also keep the meaning the same, communicate clearly, but can I use less words to say whatever the thing is that you're trying to say in the moment? So tone, slow down, speak less, let your words carry the weight. Pace. Your tempo is important. Don't rush it. Slow is safe. Anytime we start talking too fast, remember, this is the first time they've heard most of this content. Whatever it is that you're in your presentation, they've never heard it before. So we get so used to going over it over and over and over, we'll start to rush things because we know it. We know where we're going, all these things, but we forget they have not heard it before. So we have to slow down so they can process each section. I know this is opposite by what a lot of the data out there is, but this is also why sales is moving to this model versus your traditional 10, 15, 20-year-old sales processes. We're not there to force them into something. We're not there to convince. We're there to invite, which is a totally different mindset shift. So the third one is posture. Ground your body, own your presence. I highly, highly recommend even if it's just a couple minutes, start a meditation practice in your life, because when you do that, you're training yourself to be comfortable in a calm, grounded position that you can tap into at a moment's notice anytime you need to. That's why one of the reasons why meditation and mindfulness is so important. And then another one is, in the last section here on, how to transfer certainty without over speaking, is your language. Change your language, change your results. That's one of my main talks that I actually give when I speak at conventions and trade shows and just all over the place. So one of the things I want you to do is, stop using words of uncertainty. Get rid of I think, get rid of maybe, get rid of kind of. What we're going to change it to is, instead of I think we're going to, or maybe we should, start saying phrases like, what we're going to do is, or here's what makes the most sense. The best way to protect your home is. So making more definite, confident statements will make a big difference in your process, in your presentation. So the goal isn't to sound confident, the goal is to be confident. Let it show in how you carry yourself. And the only way to, and this is one of the reasons why I started this episode with nutrition and fitness. When you make these agreements with yourself, I'm going to, for example, I'm going to make it to the gym 4 times this week. And you actually do it. You're keeping these micro agreements with yourself, which builds confidence in yourself that you actually deliver on what you say you're going to. When you say, I'm going to, or even better, I am the person who chooses water over soda. I am the person who goes to the gym 4 times a week. You're creating this belief system about yourself. And when you do that, your confidence starts to go through the freaking moon. Because, I mean, raise your hand. We've all, at some point in time, had been moderately consistent with some sort of exercise routine. Well, what happens? Your confidence skyrockets because you're in alignment with your core values, you're making progress, you're seeing results, and it only builds on itself. So that is your cheat code. If you have trouble confidence in the sales area, start working on yourself first. Start in the gym or whatever your chosen exercise is. It doesn't have to be lifting weights, it could be whatever, but do it consistently and meet the agreement you make with yourself, and you will start to build your confidence, and it will carry over. It will bleed into the other areas of your life in a good way. So those are the ways to some really actionable tools you can start implementing immediately to create that confidence that is tangible by your buyer. So number 4, this is a big one. How do we prep our energy before the call? One is you can't transfer what you don't have. That's part of why you have to work harder on yourself than you work on, the external things. And so that's why I go through so often, nutrition, fitness, personal growth, your spiritual life, and your relationships. You've got to work harder on yourself internally and those things equally as much than you work on your sales skills, because they are all related. They're all equally important. One is not more important than the other in sales. Because remember, sales is the overflow of your life. It is not the performance of an hour, hour and a half, or however long you're in the home. So, uh, pre-appointment rituals, rituals for anchoring that belief. One, remind yourself what I'm offering is the best thing for them. We have to have that confidence. Number 2, anchor into purpose, not pressure. We're there for a purpose. We're there intentionally. We stop selling by chance and start selling intentionally. Start showing, not just selling, show up with intention, not pressure, but with purpose. Number 3 is to visualize the outcome. Happy homeowner, problems fixed, long-term trust. Start to visualize that. Visualize what the call is going to end with them high-fiving and hugging you and giving you sugar donuts on the way out, because they're so grateful that you help them make a buying decision, because you know and they know their life is going to be better because of it. So you help them step outside of their comfort zone to make that decision, and now their life is not going to be the same, and you had a hand in that. So having that confidence is so important. So, and here's a script starter, we'll call it, to rehearse this pre-call self-affirmation. My job isn't to convince, it's to create clarity. My job isn't to convince, it's to create clarity. And when you do that, what happens when, when you do that, it just, everything starts to fall into place. It becomes this place where the conversation is simple and easy. When you can limit the extra words, when all of these things fall together, and you go back and listen to steps 1, 2, and 3, episodes 1, 2, and 3 in the series, because all these things build on each other, and we have to understand the different components of them. And when we do, this journey becomes fun, it becomes easy, and it's so much easier to create a trusted, comfortable space where they can make a confident buying decision, because clarity shows up, and then lo and behold, the yeses appear right behind the clarity and the confidence. So that is my quick message for you. And so let's recap real quick. 1, certainty is an energetic transfer, not a closing tactic. Number two, you are convincing. You're not, sorry, you're not convincing. You're not convincing, you're guiding. We're the tour guide there. We're not convincing, we're guiding. Number three, the calmest person in the room transfers the most belief. Because if your belief is unshaken, it doesn't matter how they hit you with different negotiation tactics, or they flinch when you see show the numbers, all those things. If you remain calm and guided and centered, your belief will outshine that, because they're trying to get you riled up a lot of times. Sometimes this is their smokescreen. They're just testing you. And when you stay calm and unfazed by it, they line up right behind you and say, you know what, if this guy believes in this much, I should. They'll start shooting themselves. I should maybe do this. And it's incredible the ability we have to influence that strictly by remaining calm, cool, and collected yourself, even in the line of fire from the homeowners. It doesn't have to phase you. It's their problem, not yours. If they're upset about something, we calmly listen and help them solve their problems. So this has been the tip of the iceberg. If you want to dive into this, I absolutely recommend you, of course, getting a ticket to the Close It Now Boot Camp, Relentless, the Ultimate Sales Transformation, May 6th, 7th, 8th. Tickets are starting to fly fast. So they are 50% off. I slashed them to half price all the way through the event. This room will sell out. So make sure you get your ticket soon. So go to closeitnowbootcamp.com. You're going to fill out a little form there and give me some info, and then click the link, and that will take you directly to the page to grab however many tickets you need. Bring your whole team. This will change your life. You will not leave the same. So we did just record it turned into almost 3-hour training. Me, Scott Silvenbell, and Doug Wyatt, we're going to be the bulk of the trainers at the event. So I highly recommend grab your ticket now, because they're going to sell out fast. So that is my quick recap. Here's my final thought. Two things. One is, if you've gotten value from this, share it with someone, because this series is the missing piece in any training you've ever heard. This is the missing piece of what separates an average performer from a top performer. So this energy series I'm doing is the foundation for something epic that I'm building, that I'm leading up to. You'll see soon enough. But so if you've ever gotten value from this, share it and leave me a 5-star review. Go to Apple Podcasts, go to Google, leave me a review. I absolutely, that's how my business grows as well as yours. The more 5-star reviews we get, I can get better guests on the show. I can bring you more value. So love the reviews. And here's the final thought. Sales isn't about pressure. It's about presence. When your belief is unshakable, the buyer feels it. And when they feel it, they will follow you. So thank you for listening, everybody. I'm so happy that you're on this ride along with me in Drive Time University. And thank you for trusting me to put me in your passenger seat, as the guys over at Waste No Day like to say. Big shout out to those guys. You got to listen to their show as well. If you've never heard the Waste No Day podcast, I highly recommend. Good friends over there, Brian and Nate. But thanks for trusting me to put me in your passenger seat. I'm going to say that again. Final thought. Sales isn't about pressure. It's about presence. When your belief is unshakable, the buyer feels it. And when they feel it, they follow. So until next time, everybody, you go be someone worth buying from.